Welcome to the UK OCR Community Podcast, presented by Obstacle Racing Media. Each episode, we'll be talking to race directors, elite runners, weekend warriors, and frankly, anyone else from the UK OCR scene that will talk to us. Here is your host, Alan, aka Muddy Duck.
Anywhere in Chicken Town. The bloody scene is bloody sad. The bloody news is bloody bad.
Listeners, have we got a treat for you today? We are going back to World's Toughest Mudder, which happened about a month ago, I want to say. And you all listened to Grant and Charlie come and join me last week. And we talked about their race and things like that. And sometimes we forget that it's not always the elites that are running. And sometimes we need to talk about weekend warriors, other athletes who are not right in that top level. And we have got 4 ladies on today. And we've got the top UK athlete on. So I'm going to go to her first. With 75 miles, Jackie Naylor.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
75 miles. What an amazing effort.
Yeah, a little bit of a shock.
First in age group,
Yeah.
What was it like achieving? I mean, 75 miles is an holy grail. What was it like? Did you have it on your mind or?
No. I went out. I wanted 24 hours. That was my target. Stay out all night. That was sort of the peak of the thing. I'd obviously done ETM this year, and I'd been out to Chicago and done Toughest and got 40 miles. So sort of in my head, I was aiming for 60 because people said the distance and half again. So in my head, I'd got 60, 24 hours, and that was where I was at. I think I hit 60 miles at around 7:30 a.m. Yeah, and got told that I wasn't stopping.
Who told you wasn't stopping?
Leanne. She was my pit crew. She was my pit crew. She knew what she was getting. She knew what I was getting before I knew what I was getting.
Oh, you had an amazing pit crew with Leanne then. Leanne's been on our podcast quite often, and her tips are no end. Well done, Jackie. 10th place overall, top 10 finish. That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
On today we've got Ruth Battersea, fresh from. I'm going to guess now because I haven't looked at the Endurance League. Am I right in saying you got second in the UK Endurance League as well, Ruth?
No, I won it.
Oh, you won it! Oh, right. I knew you was up there on the podium.
Only just. But...
First place in the Endurance League. Fresh back, 65 miles over at World's Toughest Mudder. 22nd overall, second in age group. What was it like for you?
Well, first of all, I want to say well done, Jackie, for an absolutely amazing performance. I think I went into it the same as you. I wanted to keep going for 24 hours. Never done 24-hour event before. Most I'd done is 13. I think my biggest fear was not being able to do 24 hours. And then I kind of just stopped looking at the clock and started talking to people. And I had a great time. I had a fab time. So absolutely loved it. Yeah, it was... I'm still buzzing from it. I haven't had the SADs yet, so I don't know when they're going to come. But yeah,
an absolutely amazing effort. Did you have a target in mind as you went over?
Well, I'd originally thought again, because I managed 40 at ETM. I was kind of hoping that I could get a bit more than actually I got. In all honesty, but then after the first lap and the heat, I kind of quickly realised that the maths wasn't quite what I thought it was, and that it was probably more towards, as Jackie was saying, that I should have been aiming more towards 60. But I kind of lost track where I was, in all honesty. I wasn't even looking at my lap times. I was just having a good time and keeping going. I thought I'd just keep going until I'm not allowed to run anymore, and then we'll see what happens. So, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And we have also got joining us today, Sam Gascoigne, 35 miles, 7. Well, I can't remember what position you were in that, but 35 miles. It's an amazing effort, Sam. All that way over there. Happy with that?
Yeah, I am pretty happy with that. I'm like the others. I didn't know what to expect going into it. Again, I'd not done any more than a 12-hour event, so I didn't know what I was capable of. So it was a case to just go as long as I could, as far as I could. So yeah, I'm happy with that.
A great result, 35 miles ultra distance. Anything over 26 miles, you become a runner, don't you? that is the Holy Grail. So you've got to
Well,
get over
the most
26.
I've ever done is 25, so I've put 10 on that now. So yeah, I'm happy with that.
Well happy. And one of our long-term guests, been on with a few times, Michelle Carney. What a
Believe it
special
or
event! What a special event for you, Michelle.
It certainly was. Yeah, I went out with a very different reason for what most people did. Regular listeners will know that I did my first Tough Mudder after getting a cancer diagnosis. And 2 weeks before Worlds, I was declared 5 years cancer-free, which is when you are pretty much classed as cured. So I thought, what a better way to go and celebrate than to do the biggest Tough Mudder there is. And I'll just top it off by getting my 50 times while I'm there. So mileage was irrelevant to me. I really didn't care. I was there to get that 50 times and celebrate 5 years cancer-free.
Wow. And you said mileage is irrelevant, but 35 miles is nothing to be sniffed at. 7 laps?
Yeah, 7 laps. Some interesting moments there. My body decided it didn't want any more nutrition on lap 6. Jackie found me somewhere out there bouncing on space hoppers. As the space hoppers were flying off all over the place while Jackie was laughing away, bouncing along on them. And my body was just going, I don't like this anymore. But, we went back out for another lap, got 7 in, and then spent the last 5 hours on Mudderhorn.
Oh, wow. Let's stay with that. Let's stay with Mudderhorn. You say you spent 5 hours on Mudderhorn. I'm going to assume that was helping people over and that.
It was, yeah. The plan had always been, there's an American mudder out there called Dave Didier. He went through cancer treatment at the same time as me, and he got his 5 years cancer-free this year as well. So the plan had always been that we were going to cross the finish line together, and he was going to crown me, but he's one of the men of Mudderhorn. So I spent my last 5 hours on Mudderhorn with him, cheering people on. We tried to push Jackie out for another lap, but she really weren't having it. We tried. But yeah, 5 hours on Mudderhorn helping people. It was really good to be able to see people on their last few laps, as well as Jackie getting pushed back out. Chris James came in on one of his laps and went, no, that's it, I'm done. 2 hours later, I saw him again. I'm like, I thought you were done. He went, yeah, Leanne bullied me.
There's going to be a thing here about Leanne bullying people. I can see this coming in the nicest possible way, of course.
We call it enthusiastic encouragement.
Sam, we went over Mudderhorn together at ETM, I believe, at Europe's Toughest Mudder.
We did.
We did.
Well, no, I pushed you over. Let's correct that. And I handed my band in.
Yeah, okay. But I hear that Mudderhorn was much steeper and much more difficult than ETM. Yeah. What was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it is higher. It's still got the plinth on to stand on, but it is higher, so it does take that a little bit more of an effort. But I've got to say, kudos to the men of Mudderhorn. They were just brilliant all night, giving everybody them pushes that were needed, because there's no way you could do it. I certainly couldn't do it myself, and people couldn't repeatedly do it themselves all through the night. So without them guys there, yeah, it would have been a massive struggle. But yeah, it's definitely higher than the UK one. And not just as in higher as to getting up onto it, but the netting that they use over the top of the obstacle is like, that bit for protective stock from it's the gap was a lot tighter on it as well. You had to, as you were going over the top, you had to literally like squeeze through, because they kept that quite compressed, so you was pinned into it a bit more. So they actually made it tougher as a whole, not just higher to climb up either.
Wow.
They use a different cargo net out there as well, whereas ours is quite flat. It's like a rope cargo net.
Yeah.
So the way I go over Mudderhorn is I come down it face first and slide down the netting, and you can't do that on the American one.
Oh wow. That's a whole new technique to me. That's good.
It was quite
cool technique coming down there. Moving away from Mudderhorn, Ruth, you was out there. What obstacles was there any obstacles that challenged you while you was out there?
I had a bit of a freak out actually in Reborn, because the water on top of it, there were kind of 6. So Reborn obviously is like Crybaby. So Crybaby's absolutely fine. I don't have a problem with Crybaby, but because the water is on top of the tarp in Reborn, they've got like 6 sections where you had to push your body through, but it was that tight that when I first went through it on the first lap that it was open, I had to kind of prise my head against the ground. So literally I was taking like my chin was like skinning, and I got through the first section and realized that there were another 5 to do, because I don't even know whether I've done Reborn before. I don't think I have. And I realized there was another 5 to do, and I had a bit of a panic I was going to get trapped in there. And then I thought, oh, what if there's snakes in here as well? So I had a right moment. And it just, when all of a sudden something worries you and you didn't expect it to. But once I was through the first time, I was fine. I just realized you had to just push, but it was actually quite hard. And then I heard a familiar accent outside and found out that the guy that was volunteering on it actually lives 2 roads away from me. So that was quite funny. So we had a little laugh afterwards, and then I carried on.
Oh wow, who was volunteering on it?
John Mead.
All right, yeah, we know John.
Yeah.
John's quite good. So let's get this right then. So Reborn, so it's a bit like Birth Canal and Crybaby, but in Birth Canal we go through one long tube with the water above you. Are we saying that this was like the tubes was like horizontal to you going through them?
Yeah, and it was 6 in a row.
Wow.
You had to keep squeezing yourself under, but the gap, I found it, I don't know whether it's just me, I found it really hard to get my body through. Literally, I had to kind of shove my head through. That was how tight it was. So
wow.
I would think if you were a bit claustrophobic, you would hate that. But I didn't want to get dizzy, so the penalty was not an option. Not an option.
It's quite good there was no rain then, because I guess if we'd have had rain, it would have got heavier and in there.
Well, yeah, the water. I'm sure they topped it up at some stage as well, because I thought it was starting to get easier and then it got harder again.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
What about you, Jackie? Was there anything out there that surprised you, shocked you?
I mean, the heat was my biggest thing. So the first 3 laps, I was actually sick. I couldn't keep anything in. The heat just absolutely zapped me the first 3 laps. And then the sand. So they had lumberjacks mixed with a sandbag carry and Devil's Beard in about half a mile of sand. And it was just zapping. Like, I can't run in sand anyway. It's not one of my things I can do. And that half a mile was absolute torture.
I can't run in sand, and you've just done 75 miles. That's going to be a Jackerism now. I'm going to call that a Jackerism.
But yeah, it just, like, the obstacles and things, I was prepared for what I could do. I was prepared for what I was going to struggle with, but nothing prepared me for the heat and that sand. And, there's nothing over here particularly. If it was 32 degrees over here, I wouldn't go for a run.
Yeah.
But you'd not got a choice. We'll start at 1 o'clock, off we went.
What was it? What was your prep? I'll stay with you, Jackie. What was your prep leading up to it? Was you out there a week before, a few days before? What was your prep to it?
So we'd obviously flown out. So me, Leanne and Gary had flown out to Chicago to do Toughest in August. And I'd really struggled with jet lag. I'd not slept for 2 days before the event, so I couldn't eat. And I really struggled. So we'd planned to go out on the Wednesday morning. So I'd got a couple of days to adjust. But we were sat in the plane in the air on the Wednesday morning, looked out the window and they were dumping fuel. So I know nothing about planes.
Yeah.
And I thought they were just trying to lighten the plane so we could fly faster.
Right.
And then somebody got the map up and we were flying around in circles. At which point the pilot came over the tannoy and said that there was an engine failure. So we wouldn't be landing in Miami and we were going to have to go back to Heathrow, but they still had to lighten the plane so it was light enough to land. So we circled for 3.5 hours before landing back in Heathrow.
Wow.
So we didn't actually fly out until Thursday at 12. So we didn't get to our own Airbnb until the Friday morning. So it wasn't ideal.
No, that must have been, I guess, I think I would have been a little bit scared and very apprehensive that if that had happened to me on a flight out there for 3.5 hours circling Heathrow dumping fuel, I think I would have been a little bit frightened and probably a little bit uneasy. Did you instantly put it behind you? And
they brought us wine. It was fine.
Wine's the cure.
Well, I think all three of us sort of looked at it as that we're actually quite lucky. He caught it within 4 minutes of taking off. If he'd carried on flying, we maybe wouldn't have made it at all.
Yeah.
You know, it was down to one engine. Apparently we were the most talked about flight for a month or something. So we all sort of looked at it from that point of view, in that actually we've been quite lucky.
Yeah.
But then the next day when we got on the plane, we were sat there and the pilot came over again to say there'd be a slight delay because one of the tyres needed replacing. So then we got a bit final destination and we're like, but yeah, so not an ideal build up to the race. But I think we all just sort of thought, you know, we're here, we're still going.
Yeah. Which you got there in the end.
Yeah. Not the best way, but we got there.
What about you, Ruth? Did you go out there early, or was you a last minute flight out?
I flew out on Thursday from Manchester.
Okay.
It was Thursday, wasn't it? Yeah, I think I joined you guys on Thursday, didn't I, Sam? Lost time. Yeah, I was quite lucky because everyone else had a couple of hiccups on the way over there, and everything just seemed to go okay. But yeah, I work a lot of night shifts, so my body clock is all over the place anyway. I actually came back and went straight into night shifts, so I have had zero jet lag because I never know what time of day it is. So
Oh, that's crazy.
That's
Crazy coming straight back. So I assume, Ruth, that you stopped with Sam and Michelle and Will and the whole crew.
Will and Mike and Ryan and everyone. Yeah. Craig, Louise. Yeah.
So, Sam, did
I
you
think
get
there were 11 of us? There's 11 of us. I've never stayed in a house with 11 people, even when I was at university. I've never done that before. But everyone was sound. It was like no Big Brother episodes. It was great. It was great fun.
And you had a beautiful villa, Sam. I've seen Will's view around the villa. You know, who got to the villa first? Who was first in the villa, Sam?
Kerry was in the villa first. Kerry Ann Daniels was with us, so she got to the villa first.
So she travelled down from Canada.
She did. She flew down from Canada, so she arrived in the afternoon. She was there a fair bit before us, and then we all just suddenly descended about 10 o'clock at night. The rest of us all arrived together in 2 cars.
Wow. So was it a case of getting in first and bags in the beds, or was it all
no,
pre-planned?
Will was already organised with his spreadsheets and everything, I think. So, and I think it was all sorted before we got there. So yeah, it was all fair enough. We all got sorted with rooms really quickly.
So I did see that there was a Harry Potter room, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, the boys had the Harry Potter room. There was a Frozen room.
Who had the Frozen room?
Craig and Louise.
Right. Okay.
And because they got Maddie with them, and then me and Shell had the Star Wars room, so we had a stormtrooper looking after us for the week. It was great.
That's the best ever Star Wars room. While we're talking about you guys all living in the house together, it wasn't just like pre-World's Toughest Mudder. You went afterwards. You went around. I've seen lots and lots of pictures of you being dragged and being. What's this with the water flume that I've seen?
The water?
Oh, the rapid.
Oh, that was. You mean when we went to Universal?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We just had a day out. One of the last days was Universal, and we just went on the water rapids. Absolutely soaked.
So I'm seeing you walking funny as you're coming off this. Is this walking funny because of WTM, or is this because you're absolutely soaked?
We are absolutely soaked. There is video footage somewhere. I think Liam's got a video of us actually on it, and I'm not kidding. We got absolutely drenched.
It was hilarious.
Yeah. It was.
Oh,
yeah.
Love it.
Y'all got me to face Sophia.
Hey, don't blame me. I didn't make
Y'all
you
got
do anything. You
facing my
volunteered.
fears.
It sounds like you had a huge party there and party afterwards. Jackie, did they not invite you to the after party?
So Leanne and I had our own plans. So there was me, Leanne, and Gary's parents were sharing together. And Leanne and I had decided to do a girls' road trip afterwards. So we actually hired a convertible and travelled down through Florida Keys for 5 days and did the sights that way on.
Wow. I want to know, because I've done the Florida Keys, love the Florida Keys. Did you stop off at Isla Morada for a rum runner?
We stopped there for a night. We
Oh.
didn't do the rum runner. We did rum cocktails instead. So
Right.
we sampled a few of the cocktails there. I think we stopped up at 3 different places on the way down to Key West. We hooked up back with Gary and his parents in Key West before coming back up to Miami.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Absolutely wonderful. Love Florida myself. Been a few times. Michelle, we touched on the weather there and how warm it is, and that over there. What was it like for you? Because, I mean, you're a northern girl, I mean, you were born and bred literally a stone's throw from where I currently live. You're used to the cold weather. It wasn't cold over there. You said it was hot.
I am so not used to cold weather. I am one of them people that could be cold on surface at sun. I loved it. Everybody else were complaining about how hot it was. I'm like, I actually had to buy shorts, running shorts to take with me because it's never warm enough in this country for me to run in shorts. And I actually ran in shorts all night. It was amazing. I loved it.
I don't think it was that warm because Will's mentioned to me he actually wore neoprene at some point.
Yeah, well, yeah. Than I am.
I actually caught up with Will on a lap, and I can't even remember what lap it was. I feel like it was maybe his 50th. I don't know what it was for me. And he was in his neoprene, and I'd got shorts and a sports bra on.
I'm just going to confirm that was his 50th mile, not his 50th lap.
Sorry, 50th mile. Sorry. But yeah, so he was full neoprene, and I was still shorts and a sports bra.
Yes, I have mentioned this. I think Will must be the neshiest person that I ever.
Worse than me, and that takes some doing. I put leggings on round about 2:00 in the morning, but simply because I was sick to death of getting like sandpaper all over my legs. So I put some leggings on just to protect myself from the sand.
You just mentioned there, Jackie, about running in a sports bra and shorts and that. Now, there was one particular obstacle that I know about, which I want to say it wasn't skid mark, but it was the ramp that you go up with a really tight netting on it.
Pyramid squeeze.
That was the one, and I couldn't think what it was. How did you cope with that on your back? Because all the boys are telling me it was taking skin off the shoulders.
So I had 2 ways of doing it. I did it backwards. So I put my back against the wall and climbed up the net that way. So I was pushing myself up. Or if I hit it with a group, if you like conga lined up it, so you went alternate sides of the rope that you could pull up and the person in front lifted the net, you only actually had to lift the last bit of it because the person in front was lifting it for you. So if you hit it with other people, so the Everest Angels were on it for a little while and were actually holding it up for people to get under, it wasn't quite so bad. So my last 2 laps, I hit it on my own and it was hard. It was really hard.
No one's mentioned to me the technique you just mentioned there of like putting your back to it and coming up using
a ladder.
Yeah. Ruth, did you use that technique? I see you nodding your head there. Or was you on the...
I saw a few people do it. But I was quite lucky that every time I got to it, there was somebody else around. Even if I had to kind of hold the net up and squidge my body through, I tended to get through it okay. But then I did have a bit of skin missing on my back afterwards, but it's all good. It's all fine. I talking about the worst thing was the sand. The worst thing, I couldn't actually wear my sports bra anymore. I had to remove it. So so I was running. Yeah, it was bad. I'm still like scarred from it. I never expected that from the sand. And that's even with like Vaseline everywhere. But the gaiters were spot on. Gaiters were definitely needed for that sand.
Don't talk to me about gaiters.
Well, now we are going to talk to you about gaiters, aren't we? Now you can't say that, Michelle, and say don't talk to you about gaiters because I'm going to come to you. Gaiters, tell me gaiters.
So I'm very well known on course for wandering off and stroking random animals that I can find. So there were lots of jokes before we went about, Shell, you are not allowed to stroke the swamp puppies. And it was really, really funny until lap 6 when I turned around the corner and got confronted by a 14-foot alligator that was on the side of the lake staring back at me.
Oh, no.
I'm like, okay, what do I do now? I quickly learned that, I don't actually want to stroke an alligator, especially not a wild one.
No. And they can run quite fast as well, over a short distance, can't they?
Apparently they can run up to 35 mile an hour, but we went to Gatorland after, would have been beneficial to go before. And they told us that they generally only run up to 7 miles an hour. Now, I don't care how tired I were after 7 laps, I would have run faster than 7 miles an hour if it had decided to move. Thankfully, it just stayed where it was and watched me as I crab walked past it, talking to it really nicely and asking it to please stay where it was.
I was always told it doesn't matter how fast you run if a gator's chasing you, as long as you run faster than the person that's behind you.
Well, that would have worked if there were anybody else there, but of course I was going to encounter it when there was nobody else around for miles. I was completely on my own.
I like that. Has anyone got else? I'm going to open this up now. Has anyone got else to want to talk about over there? Any funny stories they've got with over there? No one's nodding at me.
There were lots of stories.
Give us one. Give us one, Ruth.
Well, no, not so much like funny stories. It's one of the things that I would actually take home from the race of how many stories I heard from people about how they got there and why they were there. And yeah, well, I spent a lot of time talking.
What was the best one you heard?
I mean, there was a chap that I bumped into who unfortunately had lost his brother. And his brother wanted to do the race. And he said, well, my brother's actually with me. And he'd got his brother's ashes with him, in a little stone that he was carrying around the race. So that was quite moving to hear his story. But yeah. I didn't realise myself until, because whilst I've done lots of OCRs before, I haven't done that many Tough Mudders. And I didn't realise really until this race, I don't think, how amazing the Tough Mudder community is and the stories and what brings people there. Yeah, I was really moved by it. I was quite emotional just turning up and feeling the vibe of the event. That's before we'd even started running. I was emotional. People's energy and that, and friends across, the world. We all meet for this kind of common goal and for this challenge. And there's a special something in every person that's brought them there. And yeah, it was a great event. I keep saying to people how amazing it was, because I think everyone at work thinks I'm a bit tapped doing a 24-hour race, and they're like, we don't understand why you would want to put yourself through that. And I think they expected me to come back and say it was hell. I hated every minute of it, but no, I actually, I found something out about myself. I found something out about the community, and yeah, it was a great experience.
Wow.
Love it. I'll do it again.
That's a great story. That's a great story, that. Someone running with the brother carrying them out. I found that amazing. What number was it for you, Ruth? Tough Mudder wise. You said Michelle, we know Michelle's 50th. What was it for you?
God, I've not been keeping track.
You need to. You're a Tough Mudder runner.
Yeah,
now.
I've not been keeping track because I do the long ones. I don't tend to just do the short. I haven't done any of the standard. I think I've done 2 standard ones. The rest have been endurance ones. So it's about 7. So I've not done that many, but I've done lots of laps.
Yeah, that's pretty good. 7's pretty good.
Yeah.
Sam, what number are you up to?
That was number 42 for me.
Oh wow! So you'll be probably at 50 at the end of 2025.
Yeah, I was trying to work it out. Depends what I can do. If I might be able to squeeze it in the end of next year. If not, I'll be definitely on the cards for the year after.
Like that. Now, Jackie, I know you've done quite a few. What number are you on?
69.
69. Oh wow! That's amazing. So WTM, you could actually reach 75 and do more than 75 miles.
Yeah, I could.
That's because I've always had an aim in people know this listen to my podcast, but I've always had an aim every year, and I've managed to do it every year so far, is to run since the age of 44 I've done it, but to run a 10k in less minutes than how old I am.
Okay.
So that's always been my goal every year to do it. I only did it this year about a couple of weeks ago, actually, funnily enough, or feels like a couple of weeks ago. But I've always had things. So I'm thinking now. You see, you've got to do more miles at WTM than you've actually done.
You've been thinking my coach.
Yeah. So you've got to be yours. Now, Shell's got to go for 50 at 2025. Sam's going to be close to 50 at 2025.
We're doing a wheelchair assistance team with B next year. There ain't no way I'm doing 50 miles dragging a wheelchair with me. It's not happening. Maybe 2026.
Cool. I get that. while we're moving on to that, let's move on to 2025. Beaver Castle, UK. First time it's come to the UK. It's also part of the UK Endurance Series as well, which is absolutely amazing. However, one downside is it clashes with the Euros. So we know that some of our top athletes in the UK are probably not gonna make it. They're gonna make a tough decision. Do they go to WTM or do they go to the Euros? I know where I'm going. I'm not a top athlete. It's quite easy for me to make that decision. Are we going to see all four of you at WTM 2025?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My original plan was actually to go to Euros, but that was just going to be my first opportunity this year to race for the UK. But next year, but after WTM, I'm like, nah, I'm not missing that. No way. So I've changed my mind. And I want a 75 bib, so you've got priorities and all that. 75 bib is needed. So yeah, I've got unfinished business now. So yeah, change plans.
So you've done ETM. I know, Ruth, you've done ETM at Beaver Castle because it's the first time we ever met.
Yes.
We ran together for a short period of time before you left me, and I had to follow your dust trail as you went running off up the hill, and I decided to walk up it because I wasn't running it. But yeah, so we've done Beaver Castle. We're not sure what the course is going to be. Florida was quite flat. Now we know Beaver Castle may not be flat. ETM's never been flat. It takes us up the hills. Will we expect hills? I'm going to come to you first, Jackie. Will we expect hills, or do you think they're going to keep the course flat to try and get? Because I'm a firm believer that Florida was done flat to try and get 100 miles, to get more people, to get big distances, and make it absolutely big again. So I'm convinced they did that this year. Will we see it in 2025 at Beaver Castle?
I don't think so. I think they're going to use the terrain as much as they can. So I think we'll be through the lake. I think we'll be up the hills. I think we'll be through that horrible mud mile that after 5 laps you've just had enough of. I think they'll make it big.
Yeah.
They're going to send us up the hill.
Yeah. It's that hill up to where they used to put gloop, isn't it? That, I mean, every lap at ETM, it just kills you every time.
Yeah, it does. It does. Now, Michelle, you might remember this one, but they sent us up a different hill at the first ETM I ever went to see, which was after the lake. They sent you straight up that hill towards the statue on the top, which is probably the steepest hill of the lot. What do you think they're going to do with that one? Do you think they'll keep us flat again, or they're going to take us up there?
We're going up one of the 2 hills after the lake. The question is just which one, and I will put money on them putting Devil's Beard on that hill too.
Yes.
Up Devil's Beard, up a hill, loads of nets. They're going to pin it down.
Put obstacles in the middle of it, some balls or some.
Yeah, they're going to make it. They're going to make an impact. It's the first time it's come to the UK. They're going to show the Americans how tough it really is over here.
And Beaver are really good at allowing Tough Mudder to do what they want on the land. Like, they can dig, they can build. And with Spartan and Tough Mudder being there in the consecutive weeks, they can do what they want.
Every obstacle they own in the UK is going to be at that event because they are there for 3 consecutive weeks. So whatever they set up, they've got plenty of time to set it up, leave it up. They're throwing everything at it.
Are we going to see the combination though? Because we just talked about some of the combinations that we've seen there. The cargo net on Pyramid Scheme, and in the past we've seen some great combinations of obstacles in the States. Will we get maybe a Tough Mudder stroke Spartan combination of some kind?
I wouldn't be surprised if they put some Spartan attachments on some of the rigs. Particularly on Funky Monkey Gauntlet, we'll probably have like a twister rig on the Gauntlet from Spartan. It'd be nice
we've already seen the tippy monkey bars, the ladder. Yeah.
Filton ladders.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get some Spartan rigs on there.
Cool. Now, I mean, Sam, for someone like yourself who's not an elite athlete, I hope you don't mind me saying that.
No, you're perfectly okay.
How are your mindset going to go to it? Because we're talking about it's going to be tough. If this is what we're talking about, it's going to be tough. For a a weekend warrior like yourself and like me, you know, I'm not an elite athlete either. What's the mindset for it? Because do you think it's going to put people off, or do you think it's going to make people step the game up?
Hopefully, people will just be in the mindset to just step the game up. For me, I knew it was going to be tough going into it, and it's not like I've only been working on it for a few months. I've been working on this for 5 years to get myself in the right. And it's in the last year, 2 years, I've really put the work in. So I went in with a good mindset. Saying that, we went out on the course walk on the Friday. I saw the course in Florida and started freaking out. I thought I got a good head game for it, and I was freaking thinking, how am I going to manage these obstacles? Because I knew I was going to be running out there independent. It's not like I had a run buddy. I was going out and I had a major wobble, and I thought, I'm just not going to get through the course. But what I actually found out there was the camaraderie out on course. No matter how good or bad or restricted your abilities were, no matter what obstacle you got to, there was always someone willing to help out someone. So even if you're like myself or whatever, everybody was helping everybody. And I think that helps you get through the night, because everybody literally mucked in with everybody. As soon as I got to Cladder to Hell the first time, I did have a minor freak because I'm not very good on heights. And I just looked at it, and straight away, there were guys coming in going, I'll give you a boost, I'll give you a hand. It didn't matter who you were. I got into Block Ness. I think there was me and this one other guy. A few started drifting in, and they went, I'll help you. And with that, I suddenly got launched and thrown up on the top of the block. And as I turned, it was Ryan Atkins. You know, the elites were turning around and they're helping each other. So the camaraderie out on course does help. Even if you in your own mind you're worried out there, the camaraderie just gets you through it. That really just get you through all through the night. Everyone's just like, you know, even when they're passing you going, well done, keep going. It's an undescribable feeling out there on course, with just everybody just helping everybody out. It really just helps your mindset to keep going.
And I couldn't agree more. I think anyone who's done ETM will know that we have that in the UK. What we don't get in the UK compared to the States is, we talked about the Everest Angels, and I forgot his name, who was on Everest at the end that you spent your time with, Michelle. What was his name again?
Dave Didier.
Dave on that. We don't have that group of people over in the UK that give up their time. Yeah, we get the marshals and we get those types of things, but we don't have that many people that are going to give that time in groups to help people. Do you think the Americans are going to come over in the droves? Because that's where it needs, doesn't it? You know, it really does need them people to come over here. You know, I'll ask you first, Michelle, because you speak to a lot of people over there. What are people talking about coming over next year?
There's a lot of Americans talking about coming over there. There's a lot of them, obviously, with it only being 6 months rather than 12, a gap. There's a lot of them trying to rearrange their holidays and things like that. But we have actually, I'm not going to name any names because I'm not going to put any pressure on people, but we have got some of the UK community saying they are going out there. They are going to go and just stand on the walls, stand on Mudderhorn. So we have already got some of the UK contingent. Whether or not it happens remains to be seen. But they are saying we cannot let the Americans come here and be used to having that there and not get it here. So we do have some people saying they are going to commit to just going out there and boosting people all the way through.
Brilliant. I like that. With it coming to the UK as well, Jackie, I'm going to come to you on this one. We don't see over in America, you know, when I look at the results, we don't see many Europeans going to America unless the British. You know, there are a few, sporadically, but it tends to be mainly from Europe. It's the Brits that go over and take over. So it seems to be very much an American British thing.
Yeah.
We're hoping that the Americans are going to come over to Beaver Castle into the UK. I personally believe it's going to attract quite a few of Europeans that have never been over there as well. What's your thoughts on running against some of the top Europeans out there, Jackie? Because it's going to be crazy, isn't it?
I wasn't ready for running against them this year. When I got to Worlds, I don't even know where I was, and Leanne told me that I was 11th woman. I cried. That it wasn't even in my mindset that was even possible for me. And even now, I've had a conversation today of ready for next year. And it's very much you need to start believing that you're actually capable of this. And me going, but I'm not. You look at some of those European ultra runners, and even the ones that were at Worlds this year, they are phenomenal athletes. And for me to put myself in the same sort of league as them is completely out of my comfort zone. So to think about running against them next year.
How many podiums have you had this year, Jackie?
Everyone.
And there's the point. There is the point. And that's why we talk about you, Jackie, doing this amazing thing.
I think an important point to make in it all, though, is how different doing an endurance Tough Mudder would be to doing an ultra race, even an ultra trail race. And I think when we were talking about obstacles and things, it's something, because I do lots of different like brand races. I think people underestimate Tough Mudder, and they underestimate it because of the fact that they don't realize how much energy, it might not be your technical skill, but they don't realize how much physical strength and energy some of these obstacles actually take, especially if you're doing multiple laps. And that's why kind of like having people there to help you is just so amazing. But even with that, when you've been up the Mudderhorn like 12 times, because some of us got to use our wristbands on the Mudderhorn. Like the obstacle that took the longest, need to think about tactics a little bit more. But anyway, I do love Mudderhorn. But when you go up an obstacle like that so many times, it takes something out of you, which is completely different to the running. So whilst the base is running, I think, yeah, Jackie, I think we underestimate what the other stuff takes out of you as well, and how different athletes have to adapt to that. So.
Do you think, Jackie, you going to quite a lot of Tough Mudders this last sort of 12 months put you in a good frame of mind? So, you said you didn't expect to get the 75, you were aiming for 60, but do you think it put you in a good frame of mind to go out there and do what you did?
I think I'm really lucky. I've got people around me that know what I'm capable of, even when I don't know. I've got a really good support crew. I've got a really good coach that seem to know what they're doing. And they've just put me in a good frame of mind. They've given me what I need, so that even when I don't think I'm capable, I can actually do it. I've obviously, a bit like Ruth, I've done quite a few different OCRs this year, as well as Tough Mudder, just to perfect a little bit my technique over obstacles, just to streamline them a little bit and get them a bit more, they take effort, they do take effort, but there's ways to get over obstacles that is less effort heavy and more energy efficient. And I think that's what I've spent a lot of this year doing. Having said that, I found halfway through the season I really missed the fun element. I started Tough Mudder for the social, for the friends on course, yes, for the camaraderie, yes, for all of that, but just to have a good time on course. And halfway through the year I had my meltdown, because I didn't enter Tough Mudder to compete. I entered it to have a nice time. And I wasn't doing that because I was running and podium every Infinity and everything else, and I sort of lost the fun value of it. So I had my mini meltdown and I went and did a couple of other OCRs that maybe aren't quite so high up on the endurance lead, and got the joy back, and then got into a better frame of mind again, and then headed to Spartan Ultra.
I like that. Yeah. Sam, we do it very much for the enjoyment of it, and things like that. Podiums are, definitely I thought that was out of my reach at my age, and, didn't expect to ETM myself, but I mean, you've podiumed at ETM as well in age group and things like that. Does it make you, coming from a fun element, does it make you want to try harder to podium? Because you don't go out to race for podiums, you go out to race for your own, to push yourself, very much like I do, to push yourself in your own ability. Does podiuming give you the inspiration to maybe push yourself a little bit further?
I think it has done with ETM. I don't go out there to podium. The fact that I have at each ETM I've done does give me that push then to think, right, okay, I must be doing something. And it's pushed me on each one to push further and further. And I think from doing that and each one it's pushed me, it then pushed me into the realm of considering worlds. But it was only last year when I won the mental grit at the community awards that gave me that final push to do it. But yeah, it does sort of push, although from my perspective, I don't go out to expect much. I'm in the older age bracket. There's not many of us and the competition isn't there. And sometimes you think, is it seen as an attendance? But it's not. I'm still out there doing the job, and
you can only beat the people
others. Exactly. But yes, it has been pushing me, and even though I didn't get anywhere near I wanted this year, it's still pushing me to work hard and go for it even more next year. So each time, yeah, it pushes me more and more.
I mean, this Worlds was phenomenal for mileage. I mean, no matter what age group you look at, if you didn't hit 75 miles, you weren't going to reach the top of the podium. Female 50 to 54, Sue Harvey-Brown, 75 miles. Female 50 to 59, Rennie Thomas-Jacobs, 75 miles. Age doesn't seem to be a barrier at this moment in time when it comes to World's Toughest Mudders. It's probably a little bit unfortunate, Sam, that you've got some amazing athletes in your age group. Nikki Kringle won it.
Going into it, I knew I couldn't compete on the mileage. Let's put it this way. The leader of mine got 75 miles this year, and second and third got 65. That's phenomenal mileage. Phenomenal. Yeah. But age doesn't seem to be a factor at Worlds on this endurance. I'm not sure why, but across the board, OCR, yeah, age is a factor for us women, and there's less and less of us out there doing it.
If you go down every age bracket, so I'll go down the females. This might surprise you, it might not, but I'll just give you the top performers. So these might have even podiumed overall. So in 18 to 24, we had 50 miles, Ellie Laird. 25 to 29, 65 miles. 30 to 34, 80 miles. So we can see it goes up there. 35 to 39, 85 miles. 40 to 44, 90 miles. 44 to 45, 95 miles. So every age bracket, the leader has gone further than the previous age bracket up to that point. I was surprised when I saw that stat. That tells me that from a female perspective, it seems to be that if you're in that 40 to 50 age bracket, it's a great point for endurance running.
Stubbornness.
Yeah. Do you know, I was going to say that because somebody said to me, "Why do you do it?" You're not minded and able, but I'm stubborn. And I think, I don't know. I think as we're getting in life, us women, we're just going to go out there and we get the job done, regardless of how long it takes, and whatever. We just go and do it.
So about this time last year, I had a conversation, and I said, if I don't do it now, I'll never know what I'm capable of. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, Jackie, I take my hat off you. Absolutely. All four of you, I take my hat off to you. Absolutely amazing. And before I leave it, I want to get one bit of advice for anyone coming to WTM next week. We'll go through each of you. Next week? Next year. WTM next year. Hey, my training. You know why I said next week? Because my training starts for it. I'm seriously. I'm 6 months in training now. It's it's my only A race, and everything's going to lead. For me, the road just leads to WTM. After that, I don't know where it's going to lead, but everything leads to WTM for me at this moment in time now. So I really want to try and give it my best shot. I want a 75 bib as well. I've put it out there. I've laid it on the line. That's my ultimate aim. Can I do it? Who knows? That's my aim. So I want to give one bit of advice, because I might take your advice as well. So bear that in mind. So for WTM 2025, I come to you first, Jackie. What bit of advice could you give to someone?
Don't stay in pit. Keep going.
Excuse me. Does that also mean getting a good pit crew?
It helps. But I ran Chicago without a pit crew. And I know it was only a toughest, but my pit times were still only 3 to 4 minutes. Obviously, I had Leanne at Worlds. We used the quick pit. And she was phenomenal. She just threw food at me and I kept going. I think my longest pit time was 8 minutes, and that's because I'd ripped my shorts and the sun was coming up. So I had to change my shorts. But yeah, my advice is don't sit in pit. You sit in pit, you get talking, you start eating, it's hard to get back out again.
So if we're going for good mileage, don't stay in pit. I like that one. That's a great tip. Ruth?
I would say trial your nutrition out, because 24 hours is a long race. You'll get bored of what you're eating. You'll get all sorts of stomach upsets and stuff. So you need to try your nutrition out, definitely, and plan that before the race. And your kit. Try your kit out, try your nutrition out, use lots of lube. Yeah, there's loads. And join the Facebook page, because there's lots of good information on the Facebook page as well. And it's such an amazing experience. Enjoy it.
Cool.
I'm going to have to say Tra quickly, because I'm on with Will in 2 minutes.
Oh, yes, you got to go. You're doing another podcast tonight.
Yeah,
Ruth, you are free to go. You can go. Thank you for joining us, Ruth.
Good to chat to you all. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
I wanted to ask another question on that one, but I'm going to ask you it, Jackie, because you did the full 24 hours, and I know Michelle and Sam, you had a bit of a break during the race as well. So stopping out there for that long, Jackie, on nutrition.
Yeah.
Did you test your nutrition beforehand, first of all?
Yeah.
And did you test it in long races, or did you test it throughout a day, as in eating your nutrition throughout the whole day while you're doing your normal jobs?
So the longest I've run up until Worlds is the 12 hours, the toughest in ETM. So I've been trialing my nutrition out on and off throughout the season, in Infinities, toughest, and ETM. But also I'm awful for nutrition on normal road runs. So I run a lot of sort of 10Ks and halves, and I will just run them on nothing. I just go out and run. And Lisa actually said to me, you need to start doing your nutrition plan while you're running your normal races as well. And said that your body's used to doing it. Now my nutrition is slightly obscure. I have baby food pouches mixed in with gels and like a flapjack protein bar.
Yeah.
So that it's easy to digest and quick to digest, but also I need something to chew, which is the protein bar. And I'll run with it. I move with it all the time. So literally Leanne would hand that over to me. I'd put it in my pockets and I'd eat it as I was running. But that has been going on through every Infinity and every ETM this season.
Cool.
Yeah, that's
it. That's a good point, that, because some people just test it and not run it. I've tested mine. I've eaten nothing for like 2 days, but literally food I would eat while I was running just to test it. So yeah. Michelle, what any tips that you can give for 2025? What should people do?
Accept it's going to hurt and embrace the suck.
That's a cracker.
It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how much nutrition you take on. It doesn't matter how much kit you try. It's going to hurt. There's going to get to a point in the night. You've had enough. It's cold, it's dark. It's wet. You're sick of seeing that same obstacle that's done your laps. You've had enough. Just embrace the suck. The sun will rise. It will get warm again. It will get better. Just keep moving. Keep talking to people. Enjoy the community and embrace the suck.
All right, listen. Let's do this.
Sam, what about you? Any tips from you?
Yeah.
Don't just assume, and just have plans for the unexpected. Kit. Have plenty of different bits of kit. You may not think, it's going to be warm, I won't need that. If you've got kit that you potentially might need, take it, because we never know what the conditions are going to be. We don't know what the temperature is going to be. You don't know what the cold's going to be. You don't know how you're going to react to it. Some people are going into it not doing some of the overnight and the long stuff, so prepare for the unexpected.
And I think that's a great tip for Belvoir Castle, because we know everyone's going to be expecting it to be quite warm and that, and we all know from being there that you just don't know what the evenings are going to be like. We could get minus, degrees in the water over there.
We're going to have cold weather.
Yeah.
We don't know how much water is going to be on course, and that makes a massive factor, especially in the night, and especially once you start hitting that 12, 14, 16 hours, you're not moving. regardless of what's there, you're not moving as well as you are to begin with. You're slowing down, and that you're more susceptible to getting colder. But it's having the stuff there. If you don't need it, great. If it's there, you can get stuff on. And spares.
Yeah.
We can't irritate enough. Spare head torches. Make sure there's plenty of spares. You've always got backups coming into pit.
I'd say have spares as well.
Yeah. I went out with 4 head torches just in case.
Yeah.
And an extra pair of socks that I ended up taking off Sam because I destroyed all mine with the sand. Lots of socks.
And lots of shorts when you rip them on barbed wire.
I like the idea of spares. I will tell a little story of my ETM this year that my head torch, I was so frightened of my head torch losing charge at some point that when I hit the pits, I had it all set up. I changed the batteries every lap. I've got nearly 30 batteries at home that probably only use a quarter of the charge. So I'm not going to run out of batteries for a long time. But I think it's a great point that is take as much spares as you possibly can, because you never know. I know people don't like to carry lots of stuff, to the pits and things like that. The good thing about Belvoir Castle is it's not going to be that far from the car park to the pits. It's less than a quarter of a mile. If you can get the front, it's even less than that. But if we all get to park down the bottom, which I think we're all going to do, it's literally going to be about a quarter of a mile through registration into the pits, and hopefully it's going to be a great race for everyone.
Better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Too right.
Absolutely.
Too right. Ladies, thank you very much for joining me today. I've enjoyed this podcast. Love chatting to you all as always. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
It's been lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. And listeners, I hope you've enjoyed that bit of WTM 2024 and what to expect in 2025 from these ladies. And they are going to smash it. They are going to probably all beat my mileage. I say 75. I will probably get 7.5. But who knows? You'll have to tune in and see. Till next time, everyone. Bye.
I don't know what you want. Let's have a bit of fun till I die.
Thank you for listening to the UKOCR podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to our podcast today. If you like what we do, please think about joining our Patreon. It only costs £2 a month and it goes to help supporting us to put these podcasts on. Or if you fancy a one-off payment, just buy us a beer. The links to both are in the description. In the meantime, you stay safe and you keep on running, everyone, and I'm sure we'll see you on the course soon. Take care. Bye.